Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak on CNN News 18 with me, Poonam Burde. It's a tale out of a murder mystery novel. One that can inspire a crime series perhaps or a web series. But this story that I'm going to talk to you about over the next 1 hour is anything but a work of fiction. It has captured the imagination of the entire country for the last 48 hours. It would shake anybody's confidence in humanity and mankind itself. Because a 28-year-old killed his live-in partner after an argument that got heated. He then proceeds to cover up his crime in the most ghastly manner. He chops her body into small pieces so it's easier to dispose it off. Now, sources within the investigating agencies have revealed to us how Aftab broke down allegedly when he was confessing to them. He confessed to killing Shraddha in cold blood. Killing her was the easy part. Getting rid of her body was not, is what he allegedly told the police while he was making that confession. Now that's the extent of how spine-chilling this entire case is. It gives me goosebumps even as I describe those details to you, and I believe that's the same sentiment you are experiencing as well as you listen to me. How do human beings turn into these monsters that you kill someone with your bare hands and then butcher them with impunity? Someone you said you're in love with, someone that you've been in a relationship with for 2 years. Those details are gory, but it is important to look at them in entirety and in complete detail. Let me break it down for you viewers, because this is a murky murder mystery. Now, there are many things that we know, there are many things that are yet to be ascertained. For example, we do know that the couple, which is Aftab and Shraddha, eloped to Delhi. Shraddha wanted marriage. Now, what is yet to be ascertained is that if moving to Delhi was a part of Aftab's conspiracy to eliminate her, or was this a planned crime really? What we do know is that Aftab brought other women home, the same apartment, after the murder of Shraddha. What is yet to be ascertained is if Aftab had an accomplice in this entire gruesome crime. Another fact that we do know is that Aftab strangled Shraddha after a heated argument. That happened on the 18th of May. That was the day she breathed her last in the place she called home with Aftab. What is yet to be ascertained if this was a crime of passion or a planned plot, one that was meticulously planned in the mind of a killer, a psychopath no less. What we now also know is that Aftab went on with his life as usual. He ordered food from a food delivery app right after the murder. He was on a dating app. He was having women over right after the murder, even as the chopped up limbs of his live-in partner lay in the fridge in the next room. What is yet to be ascertained is if Aftab confided in someone about it and that someone acted as an accessory after the fact. All of that is going to now be investigated by the police, and those dots will be joined. It is the untold story of Shraddha's murder that we are exploring here on this edition of Plain Speak. But take a look at what exactly has transpired through the last 48 hours.
Killed, chopped, and then dumped. The bone-chilling murder of Shraddha Vakar has sent shockwaves across the nation.
आफ्ताब क्यों मारा? श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब जवाब दो। आफ्ताब क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब?
As Delhi cops joined the dots and tried to reveal the mystery in the gruesome murder. CNN News 18 team hit the ground and investigated this multi-city crime horror.
Police's next challenge is to recover the body parts from these areas, because you can see it's this jungle area has a broken wall, and all wild animals and dogs, and they all come in the area, and they it is also an apprehension of the police that they might have eaten up the body parts.
Shraddha was reportedly strangled to death on May 18 in Aftab's flat in the Chhatarpur area. The accused allegedly brought a new fridge to store the body parts of Shraddha.
These boxes that are kept outside now, these are the boxes in which that fridge came, that fridge that he ordered to store the body of Shraddha. And even if you see inside the house, the house is very, very minimalistic, and it doesn't seem that a woman would also be living in this house.
Our team also visited the residential society where Shraddha used to live with her father in Maharashtra's Vasai.
What we have been told at this point is that it's been 15 years since they've vacated this place. They have moved to another residence, and there is no contact with the family at this point.
One close friend of Shraddha revealed to News 18 that she wanted to come out of a relationship with Aftab. He was abusive but wouldn't let her go, blackmailed her emotionally.
क्राइम सीन सुनने में आता है तो फिर ये शक होता है कि क्या ये कोई अल्टीरियर मोटिव था आफ्ताब का कि वो इन्फ्लुएंस करे श्रद्धा को इस तरीके से. फिर ये जो क्राइम है आज तो ये मन में सवाल होता है कि कैसे कोई इतनी बड़ी दरिंदगी कर सकता है. तो श्रद्धा डरती थी कहीं ना कहीं. श्रद्धा ने हमें यह भी बताया था कि वो इस रिलेशनशिप में नहीं रहना चाहती, वो बाहर आना चाहती है.
This cold-blooded crime of passion has triggered nationwide outrage, with people demanding that Aftab be hanged to death. Shraddha was chopped into 35 pieces before being disposed of like her life meant nothing. The murder has left the entire nation numb. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
What explains this kind of depravity? What goes on in the mind of a psychopathic killer? We'll try and decode that. We'll try and find solutions to how we can deal with situations like this. And for that, joining me on this broadcast is psychologist Anamika Yaduvanshi. Dr. Amarnath Mishra, forensic expert, will be joining us shortly. Former ACP of Delhi, Ved Bhushan, is also with us. Social activist and author Tahira Hassan also joins me, and Deshratan Nigam, a lawyer and political analyst, also on this broadcast. But I'd like to begin with the psychologist on the panel, Ms. Yaduvanshi. It's something that we have... it's something we would have never imagined. A 28-year-old not only killing someone with bare hands and then chopping the body off meticulously in the home he lives in, keeping the body parts in a fridge for 18 long days, systematically then leaving every single night at 2 a.m. on the dot with one body part each, throwing it across a broken wall in a forested area, and then coming back and perhaps having a good night's sleep. Ms. Yaduvanshi.
Yes, Poonam, it is a brutal act, and the whole nation is shocked to
We'll try and reconnect that link with Ms. Yaduvanshi, who's with us on this broadcast. We'll try and understand really the psyche of a psychopath, though I have my doubts of how you can actually put in words of what exactly drives someone to behave in this manner, in this cold-blooded manner. And a former ACP of the Delhi Police, Ved Bhushan, is also with us on this broadcast. And Mr. Bhushan, I'd like to ask you, as far as the policing aspect of it is concerned, now we do know that investigating agencies and forensic teams are on the job, but this crime was committed 6 months ago in May. Yes, there are body parts that are being recovered, remnants of body parts really that are being recovered, but what is the scope really of it actually giving any dividend as far as forensic analysis is concerned? As a prosecuting agency, how hard do you think is going to be the Delhi Police's job to prove the guilt of this man?
पूनम, इस दशक का सबसे संगीन केस है. आपको याद होगा शीना बोरा केस हुआ था, तलवार आरुषि का केस हुआ था, तंदूरी एंड निठारी केस. इसी सीरियल के अंदर दशक का सबसे ग्रूसम मर्डर केस जो दिल्ली पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रही है. यू ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द क्रोनोलॉजी ऑफ दिस मैटर. दिस मैटर वाज रिपोर्टेड बाय हिज फादर at Bombay it was a missing case. Earlier it was reported as a missing case. 9th of this November ये ascertain होता है कि she was living in Delhi with आफ्ताब because पिछले 2-3 महीने से अपने सोशल मीडिया अकाउंट पर वो कोई पोस्ट नहीं कर रही थी. तो उसके फ्रेंड्स ने बताया कि ही नॉट ऑन सोशल मीडिया, से समथिंग रॉन्ग. उनके फादर किसी भी तरह से बॉम्बे पुलिस के साथ दिल्ली पुलिस में 9 तारीख को आते हैं और उनकी चूंकि लोकेशन वाज लोकेटेड एट इन द एरिया ऑफ छतरपुर एरिया, तो ये असर्टेन होने के बाद में फिर उसका 365 किडनैपिंग का केस दिल्ली पुलिस रजिस्टर करती है महरौली पुलिस स्टेशन के अंदर. Later on द नेक्स्ट डे when thorough interrogation was made of आफ्ताब, initially he was bullying the police. वो पुलिस को बहुत तरह के बहाने दे रहा था, बोला था आई डोंट नो द श्रद्धा, बट अल्टीमेटली जब उसको ग्रिल किया गया, पुलिस ने अपने तरीके से उसको इंट्रोगेट किया, देन इट वाज रिवील्ड दैट शी वाज मर्डर. और जो अभी मर्डर के तमाम जो एविडेंसेस कलेक्ट पुलिस कर रही है, इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग एविडेंस है पूनम कि उसके लिए बचना कन्विक्शन से बहुत मुश्किल होगा. तमाम तरह के सर्कमस्टांशियल एविडेंस है, साइंटिफिक एविडेंस है, जो उसके बॉडी पार्ट्स है. यदि उसमें एक स्केलेटन भी उसके फादर और ब्रदर अभी दिल्ली में है, डीएनए से मैच कर गए तो इट्स ए केस ऑफ कन्विक्शन. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, जिस तरह से उसने सोशल मीडिया पर सर्फिंग की, जो टेक्सटर एक वेब सीरीज है उसको उसने सर्व किया, एसिड कहां से प्रोक्योर करना है वहां से उसने तमाम तरह की नॉलेज ऑब्टेन की, क्योंकि वो कॉल सेंटर में काम करता था. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट ही वाज ए ट्रेन्ड शेफ आल्सो. उसको पता था कि बॉडी को कैसे चॉप किया जाए, कैसे उसको प्रिजर्व किया जाए और कैसे डिस्पोज ऑफ किया जाए. इट्स अ वेरी सेंसेशनल थिंग. जब वो बॉडी
Absolutely. So was this a heat of the moment crime or was this actually planned and plotted? That is also something as far as the investigation goes, the agencies will have to look at. And I believe Ms. Yaduvanshi is back with us. So let's circle back to talking about what really leads a man, a 28-year-old no less, an entire life ahead of him, an entire career ahead of him, and yet you see him commit this ghastly crime.
Yes, Poonam, I think this crime is actually, it's really brutal. It has crossed all the limits of inhumanity. And these kind of people, they lack empathy. They have anger issues, they have temperamental issues, they have anxiety issues. They are not scared of anything. They are fearless. If you see this, that he has been visiting this jungle at 2 a.m. midnight. You and I would be scared to step out of our house at 11, at midnight. He is going out in the jungle. There could be wild animals. There could be anything that might harm him, and he's not scared of anything. Had he been in love with Shraddha, if it was a heat of the moment thing, he would have either fled or surrendered, because he would have been feeling so guilty about it. And then ordering food right after the murder and having girls over and continuing with his romance shows that he's inhuman. And these kind of people, they are not in love, and he might have showed these kind of behavior, these kind of brutal behavior with his friends, with his siblings, with his parents, with anybody who might have come in contact with this person. I really wonder why Shraddha could not come out of this relationship earlier. Why was she insisting on, getting married to this person?
Right.
जो इस type के लोग होते हैं, they just want to, control the other person. They don't let the other person go out of their cling. So these kind of people, they should be really spotted on earlier, and they should be eliminated from a society. I believe
but how do you do that?
That's
That's really the question, Tahira Hassan, that we need to ask, because like Ms. Yaduvanshi was also pointing out, Shraddha was in a relationship with this man for 2 years. They met in 2019. For 2 years, she didn't see this coming. They had constant fights, but she would have never imagined that somebody that she was living in with would kill her in such a manner. There's also this talk of it being Stockholm syndrome. She perhaps was in this for so long that she could not get out of it.
She could not get out because in the inter-religion marriages, mostly the girls are disowned by the parents. I mean, this is, I think, a wrong notion of the parents also. They should not disown their daughters. So she was forced to live with this abusive man. She was facing domestic violence. And domestic violence is taken as a private matter. Nobody will interfere. If they overheard, then too they will not interfere. Neighbors will not interfere. Otherwise, she would have been saved, And this man is not, you can't call him a human being. He's a beast, inhuman.
Absolutely, entire confidence in humanity, in mankind is something that would be shaken after hearing of something like this, of a 28-year-old killing and then chopping off her limbs. of someone who he claimed to have loved, who he was in a relationship with. But as far as this confession goes...
Abusive in nature, is
Right.
inhuman, sadist man who took saddest pleasure by torturing even the dead body of the Shraddha also. She chopped them in 35 pieces. Can you imagine? Any human being can do this thing?
It's,
So I
behind,
think
it's beyond my
strongest
comprehension, to
punishment
be
should be
honest, and
meted out.
I'm assuming most of the country is with me on that. But as far as the confession of Aftab Poonawala goes, and I want to get Deshritar Nigam and your legal expertise on that, sir, because confessions do not have any legal standing, so to speak. The police will have to build a watertight case to prove his guilt in the court of law. So they will need evidence to back the claims that he is making. Now, yes, recoveries have been made, but what are the odds that forensically that these remnants of her body parts or remnants of the bones can actually be linked back to her and his guilt can be proven?
Well, Poonam, in fact, before I answer that question, if you recall, the father of Shraddha has said there is a possibility of love jihad, and that aspect also needs to be investigated. One. Secondly, whether this is Aftab's first murder or not, that also has to be investigated. His entire previous life history has to be gone into, and what all he has done, because there could be a possibility, if he's a psychopath, if he is not being able to, think rationally and then, committing such kind of grisly and gruesome murder, there could be other victims as well. Now, coming to your legal question, this is absolutely important because this statement which has been given to the police is not admissible in evidence. If it was given to the judicial magistrate, then it would have been admissible in evidence, but I believe it is before the police. And the police has to build a very watertight case. Whatever has been recovered or any other circumstantial evidence has to be proven beyond doubt. The DNA has to be matched. That sample, the recovery of the flesh or body parts that has been made has to be matched with the DNA of the parents or the brother, whoever is available. Yes, if you look at the entire chain of events, this appears to be not a sudden murder, but a pre-planned and premeditated one. Clearly, the girl wanted to come out of a relationship. She could not. Her friends have clearly said so. Therefore, she did make an effort to come out, but she was not allowed to. Therefore, there is an element of pre-planning and premeditation. And secondly, the way the evidence or the body has been disposed of by chopping pieces, and also the way the evidence like blood and other things have been removed, it appears to be done by a professional murderer. It cannot be done by an ordinary person. This is my experience as a lawyer. And therefore, the entire life history of this person has to be gone into. If there are other victims, there could be a possibility of other victims, and that police has to go very deep into it.
Also, if there are any accomplices, because this went on for 18 long days where body parts were kept in his refrigerator and one by one he would take them and dispose them off.
Yes, absolutely. And then at the same time, getting girls into the apartment and continuing his relationship, keeping the head in the fridge and seeing that head also. And then, shifting it to the cupboard. This is one of the most heinous and grisly crimes I have ever come across. And this person needs to get death penalty, and this case has to be fast-tracked. It cannot go into an ordinary court because it has shaken the conscience of the nation. It has shaken the stability of the society, and people are actually very agitated today, including me. And therefore, this case has to be fast-tracked under any circumstances, should not go through the ordinary process that takes a lot of time and delay. An example has to be made out of this case. Police has to very seriously investigate, connect, and make the entire chain of events and evidences so that the person gets actually hanged in the end.
Absolutely. So a watertight case needs to be built, multiple angles need to be investigated, and all of that is being done. Now, I request my panelists to stay on with us because I also want to get into the details for our viewers of how really the misleading of investigating agencies happened as far as Aftab Poonawala was concerned. It was all a game of smoke and mirrors for Aftab, because it was not just in the days leading up to the crime, but it was also after the crime. There were multiple attempts that he made to mislead the investigators. Ploy number one that he used is that he used Shraddha's Instagram account even after she was murdered. He ensured that he chatted with her friends on Instagram to give an illusion that she was perhaps alive and everything was well. Another ploy was that he kept it active from May to June. On May 18th is when he murdered her. Up until June, he kept that ruse alive with friends of hers on her Instagram account. There were several other attempts that he made. He got rid of Shraddha's phone. Now, we're given to understand that it was actually in Maharashtra where he dumped her phone so that her location could not be triangulated, and that would also take time for the investigating agencies to join the dots. Another thing he did was he used acid, sulfur hypochlorite, to be specific, to wipe out the DNA traces off the floor of his bathroom where he chopped her limbs off. So there's meticulous planning going on there. He web searched what acid to use to ensure no trace was left. So he knew exactly what he was doing. Ploy number 5 that he used to mislead the investigating agencies is that the first time around, when he was questioned after the missing complaint was filed by Shraddha's father, he told the police that he has no idea about Shraddha's whereabouts. He said that in May, we had a fight, she left me, and I don't know what happened after that. Only later, as the police started grilling him further, is when he broke down and confessed to have actually killed her, strangled her with his bare hands. So there were multiple attempts that he was making to mislead the organization, to mislead the investigating agencies. And Ms. Yaduvanshi, that goes on to point out to the meticulousness of this entire crime. Perhaps killing her itself may have been a heat of the moment because there was a quarrel, but what happened after that definitely wasn't. He sat down, he made a plan, he decided what he had to do. He then web searched of how he could escape and go under the radar, and that's how he carried on.
Yeah, absolutely, Poonam. If we give him a benefit of doubt that maybe the murder that he did was in the heat of the moment, but whatever he's done after that, meticulous planning, that how he can get rid of the body, how he has to be careful to protect his own identity, himself, that he hasn't met Shraddha. So all these plannings, it cannot be done by a person who doesn't intend to do a crime or who has not done a crime earlier. Because I also believe that this person might have done some sort of crime. So because he has developed that kind of fearlessness that he can get away with anything. That doesn't come overnight. That doesn't come just like that. It comes with confidence, because when you get away with small crimes, then you get the confidence that you can get away with anything and everything. So this is not something that he has done for the first time. I'm sure that he might have had some sort of other things also where he broke law, because this is breaking law, this is breaking social norms, this is inhuman, this is lack of empathy. There might have been other people who might have been his victims of his cruelty, of his brutal acts, of his inhuman nature. This is so evident.
Right, it's extremely evident, and there has to be some checks and balances that we need to put in place. What those are going to be, of course, that is up for discussion, and especially in a digital age, that is something that is going to be terribly difficult, though not impossible, for agencies to put that in place. But I want to ask Mr. Ved Bhushan, as far as the investigation in this case goes, it's still a missing person's complaint that is being investigated on. Now, yes, there is a confession which does not have any legal standing. The cops have to build a case on that. But why hasn't it been converted to a murder case yet?
Shraddha, ये अभी केस की इन्वेस्टिगेशन की से इनिशिएशन ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन से ओनली 3-4 days investigation is taken up. Disclosure statement, whatever you are saying, the confession statement, there is a scientific investigation of this. आप बता रही थी डिजिटल का टाइम है. There is a polygraphy test, there is a narco analysis test. There are lot of methods for obtaining and getting the corroborative evidences in this case to prove beyond doubt. There are lot of techniques of the investigation. His mobile phone, his computer was seized by the local police, and now it is come to know that this case is being transferred to crime branch for more thorough investigation, because this case is connected from Mumbai, this case is connected from Haridwar, this case is connected somewhere to Manali also, because it needs larger investigation and this is interstate investigation. पर ये बिल्कुल श्योर है कि there are enough evidence to get the conviction of this case, क्योंकि तमाम जो circumstantial evidences है so far, जो भी investigations की गई है corrupt, because police has 90 days to investigate this case. जो देश का कानून है CRPC, it says, Mr. Nigam can tell you very well, 90 days तक police can investigate this case, because lot of CFSL's report will come in this case, or different types of reports are yet to become. अभी जो 35 पीसीज थे ओनली 12 वर रिकवर्ड, अदर जो पीसीज हैं वो उनको असरटेन करना है वेयर ही थ्रो. तो लेट अस वेट फॉर द इन्वेस्टिगेशन इज कंप्लीटेड, चार्जशीट मे बी कम टू द कोर्ट, then all things will come on the surface and then we can analyze what the investigation says, what lapses were there, but it's a initiation stage, बिल्कुल शुरुआती स्टेज है. अभी किसी कंक्लूजन पर पहुंचना ना आपके लिए ठीक है ना मेरे लिए ठीक है, क्योंकि अभी तमाम ये चीजें पब्लिक डोमेन में है. बहुत सारी चीजें पब्लिक डोमेन में पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी नहीं ला सकती इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ द केस. बट मैं आपको बिल्कुल अश्योर करता हूं, निगम साहब के पेन को आप समझिए. उन्होंने किस तरह से बताया कि हम सब चाहते हैं कि केस उस तरह से ना जाए जिस तरह से और केसेस चले जाते हैं. इसलिए वी मस्ट इंश्योर कि ये कन्विक्शन में केस टर्न हो, तमाम तरह के एविडेंसेस इकट्ठे किए जाए इस केस के अंदर, क्योंकि जितना भी हिंदुस्तान है आज तमाम इस केस को देख रहा है. और दिल्ली पुलिस का जो प्रोफेशनल जो एक कंडक्ट है वो बिल्कुल स्टेक पर है. यदि कोई भी छोटा सा भी ब्लंडर हुआ इट विल ए बिग मिस्टेक. तो तमाम एक उम्मीद रखें कि शायद एक बहुत अच्छी इन्वेस्टिगेशन, क्योंकि 2 दिन के अंदर केस को वर्कआउट करना, दिल्ली पुलिस के पास जब केस आया तो कहीं ना कहीं दिल्ली पुलिस के लिए एक बहुत अच्छा तो नहीं कह सकता, पर
absolutely the task is daunting. There are many challenges as far as this particular case is concerned, and Tahira Hassan, this also will have to serve as a precedent for the investigating agencies, for landlords that are giving out their homes to tenants about verification, and that they have to do it. They have to ensure some amount of monitoring is done, because for 6 long months something like this cannot be going on under everyone's nose and you have absolutely no idea. There also have to be some checks and balances, like I was saying, in this digital world, because many number of times, not just on dating apps, but even otherwise, we've seen several phishing attempts that have been made, several attempts to lure women that have been made. It is up to the security agencies and perhaps the government of the day as well to come out with a stronger policy and checks and balances as far as digital apps and websites are concerned.
Of course, this investigating agencies and especially the police must collect whatever evidences are there. They should collect it properly, because those evidences will be produced in the court, and the honorable court will give the judgment on those evidences also. But I have faith in this our investigative agencies, because we have seen in the case of Nethari case as well as Tandoor case. So I believe that investigative agencies will work out this thing. We must give them a time and trust and see that. But I believe that this case is comes in the category of the rarest to rare, So it should be redressal of such cases should be through the fast track court within the limited time, so witness will not get his first time, and these type of criminals will not get away after committing heinous and barbaric act. So I think now it depends totally on investigating agencies,
right?
What they are going to collect and how they are going to collect the evidences and produce it into the court. That is most important. We want justice only for Shraddha. And the strongest punishment must be meted out to this man. Is inhuman man.
Absolutely, which is also why calls are being made for a death sentence to him, because this would definitely come under the category of the rarest of the rare cases, and that is something that the court would look at. But as far as the investigation goes, and Deshrata Nigam, you also spoke of the love jihad angle and how that needs to be investigated if a thorough probe is required in this entire case. Now it's something that even the family has said, forget the politics of it and the BJP getting into it, but the father of Shraddha also said that we did not approve of the relationship. From what we understand, neither did Aftab's family.
Yes, in fact, there appears to be some kind of a suspicion right from the beginning in the minds of Shraddha's father. And that was something which probably, and she went against the wishes of her parents, because they were not in for such kind of relationship. Probably the sixth sense told them that there's something wrong. And they have proven to be right. And therefore, as rightly pointed out by one of my co-panelists, that parents need to be very sensitive about such issues. They have to take the girls into confidence and do some kind of counseling at home also. I mean, you cannot bulldoze somebody's will. At the same time, you need to sensitively handle such matters. So it is absolutely important for the parents to give a lot of thought to this kind of issues. Otherwise, let's hope someone else does not become Shraddha. And at the same time, so far as the entire issue is concerned, the thorough planning, both prior to and afterwards, clearly shows that it's not a sudden crime of passion. It is a very thought of crime where all efforts have been made even prior to that, not to allow that person to leave the relationship. Continuous torture, as her friends have said. She wanted to come out of the relationship but was not allowed to or could not because of some kind of a fear or threat. And certainly the conduct of the accused here after the murder, the grisly manner or barbaric manner in which it was done, the way the evidence was being destroyed in a professional manner, it clearly shows, and as the psychologist also on this clearly said, one does not reach this stage of confidence of murdering somebody with thorough planning and destruction of evidence without having done so in the past over a period of time. So this aspect needs to be gone into by the police, and thoroughly all evidence have to be collected very thoroughly. Delhi police so far is concerned has done a wonderful job.
Right.
A professional investigation, they must be commended, and no loopholes should be left. And certainly there are certain other social aspects also. How could a person procure acid? There should be a law that only professional chemists can take it, or somebody who's involved in that particular trade of using acid should get it after thorough verification of identification and proof. Nobody in the family, in our society, should be allowed to keep knives of more than 6 to 8 inches or choppers. Anybody who's in the professional trade of restaurant or butchering or I have a butcher shop, they must be, any sale of such choppers should be done with verification of identification and proof kept with the shop, and police be informed. And therefore all these things, because and mini saw was used here,
Right.
so it appears only the further investigation will be there, but all these checks and balances are required. Otherwise, the easy availability of such weapons because is not required at home. You don't require a big chopper at home, because all this needs to be considered by our parliament, and accordingly a law needs to be changed on this subject.
Absolutely. Better checks and balances needs to be in place. There have to be better monitoring systems. Our intelligence agencies, our investigating agencies need to be armed with those kind of methods to deal with cases like this, so that we do not see it, because clearly this is a rarest of the rare case, and this is something that we haven't seen at all, one of its kind in the recent past, but it should serve as a lesson for the future. And I thank all my panelists for joining us here on this broadcast. Even as we try and decode what the psyche of a man like Aftab Poonawalla is, we are getting more information as far as the investigation goes, which is only gathering steam now. Police sources are now telling your channel that common friends of Shraddha and Aftab are being spoken to. Aftab's behavior leading up to the days of the murder is something that is under investigation. Aftab's family is also under the scanner. What his role was, what his relationship was with his family, that is something that will help the investigating agencies in joining the dots of what exactly his motive was in this cold-blooded murder. Maria Shakil, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Maria, we're given to understand that Delhi police have already reached out to Aftab's family and the statement has already been recorded.
Yes, that's right. In fact, that recording of statement happened 2 to 3 days back. The father and the uncle of Aftab has travelled from Mumbai to Delhi for recording the statement. What we are being told by the police sources is that the father said that Aftab was not really in touch with the family much. They did not really know as to what was his nature of work. All they knew was that he had moved to Delhi from Mumbai, and that he was working in Delhi. His father has told the police that he was a free-spirited, independent boy who lived a life on his own terms. And as far as the common friends are concerned, Poonam, what we are being told by the sources in Delhi police, that common friends of Shraddha and Aftab are being contacted to understand the behavioral pattern, that what made Aftab so violent. Because much before the murder, in fact, Shraddha had communicated to some of her friends and also to her father that Aftab was abusive and that she wanted to come out of this toxic relationship. But of course, because he emotionally blackmailed her, and instead of walking out of the relationship, he forced her to travel with her to several hill stations before they finally came to Delhi, and then Shraddha was killed.
Right, the investigation there is gathering steam. All angles are being probed by the Delhi police. Maria, thank you so much for getting us the latest.